What up? Welcome to some Weak Sauce Wednesday, where we wreck these rank ladders. Sometimes. So not need to be that big. You can go over there. So you can go there, and 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 you can go there. Figure all that stuff out later. All right. Here we almost go. There we go. Boom. Bam. I guess hat's a bad call with the camera up there. Try to show my beautiful face. Why is my TV not turned on? Oh yeah. Hold on. What did OP do? Relax, Tibbs. I don't need your shit. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, just me and you hanging out, pup. You get your toys. Chew them, love them. Controller batteries are low. Hopefully these batteries. Hopefully they're charged enough. You're good, Chips. Just lay down. Just lay down. Do whatever good dogs do. Alright, so there's that. Good. Good. Whoa, how about we don't do that? How about we do this, do that, adjust this camera. How's that camera now? That's better. You don't need a full frontal view of me, you know what I mean? So Grim and Zero are already... Hey,
Joe.
What's up, fellas? What's happening?
Grim is is still at the store. I told him I'm probably getting off when he left because I'm kind of tired. But
what up,
I've still got
Zeddy?
another game or
Welcome
two,
to
but,
the shit show.
He hasn't been back yet.
Okay, well, then I can't send you an invite. You want to send me an invite? We'll get some.
Give me just
Okay,
a sec.
all right.
Give me just a sec.
I don't want no
I'm in a pretty
problems.
good-
I don't want no
Oh,
problems.
sorry. I wasn't trying to be loud. I've got
I'm
all
sorry.
this game
Don't
audio
hurt
in
me,
my
Zero.
ears.
Don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me.
I'm just in a good game.
Yeah,
I'm just in a good game. Only 7 other squads.
You do you. It goes, bro. It goes. Got some bad news on that T-shirt front.
Oh, it may be all over.
Apparently, my buddy doesn't work at that place no more, so I've been looking into other stuff.
Maybe not. Maybe
Probably
not.
gonna have to go Redbubble. Yeah, man. Zero's
We've had
making
some
me
pretty
cry.
good games, though, man. We haven't won one yet. We've been kicking kids' asses.
Well, it's just as good.
Yeah, it's very satisfying.
Yeah, my social clip today was of when we were like the second squad in that game. I was Mirage. Did pretty good. I think we knocked 2 of the last squad, and as I got kind of fucked up, and as I was running away, I got killed.
Yeah, I vaguely, I feel like I remember that. I played a few since then, but I feel like it.
Yeah, so that B's my social today. That's what BRB. All right, Zeddy.
Say what?
Yeah. As long as you feel like you remember, that's good enough.
Oh yeah, right. We won a game of the Winter Express earlier, and man, this kid was like not helping us in the fights. Like he was like hanging back and sniping, and we would have won it earlier if he had helped us. But then the game ended, and we both expected him to have like tiny amounts of damage. He had more damage than both of us put together, but he like hung back and sniped instead of coming in and fighting.
Yeah, it was because like he didn't probably. I don't know what his kills look like, but he probably was just like getting pop shots off, and then they would go into heal, and then they'd come back out and he'd get pop shots off, and then they'd go and.
Oh, that
and
could
then
be.
that boosts your damage.
I can't remember his kills. How he might have had more kills, but I don't really remember his kills. But yeah, I didn't know how he did anything because like every time I would die, I would spectate him, and he would be like off out of the action somewhere, and then he'd finally run to the train. Oh no, this kid on my team was doing. Oh, okay, there's one more up. All right. No, turn around, kid. Turn around and kill. Turn around and kill.
Turn around and kill. Kill.
Oh
kill.
yes, America.
Oh yes,
Oh, my
America.
gosh.
America.
That was awesome. I can't believe that kid just like pulled it out.
Pulled it out and came all over their chest.
Pulled it out before that. Yeah. Oh, I was like, I'm a box, but I was trying to move my sticks when he was getting my teammate up that I was spectating.
That happens to me a lot.
Yeah. Hey, they're doing really good. Only 3 others.
Nice. Especially like when I'm making clips, I'll like, cause I like jump forward like every 30 seconds and I like look for kills and I'm like, oh shit, okay, I got like 3 kills here. Well, let me go back and see how that happened. And then it's like footage of me going down and I'm like, oh, I was just like spectating you or Grim. It's like, oh man. Oh, why is my computer making these loud popping noises? I don't like it.
Oh shit. No, that ain't cute. I've got an exhaust fan on mine going out, and it'll make some screwed up noises, but it's just a cheap fan, you know?
Mine sounds like it's actually coming through the speakers, almost like it's feedback, but I don't got nothing going on.
Oh. Yeah, that's weird.
So, you're not playing, right? You're just spectating your teammates?
Yeah, they might win.
Okay,
though.
yeah, no, that's fine. I'm
gonna
gonna tell you a little story.
doing good anyway. Yeah.
So my car's been messed up for a couple days now. Believe I told you that tale. I think I might get the transmission or whatever. So I take it to the shop today after work, and they are looking at it, and then they come out and they're like, Joe, can I see you for a second? So I'm like, sure. So they take me back in the shop, and the guy's like, did you drive this here? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, hell.
Did you drive
Yeah,
it
did
here,
you drive like did you drive your car in, or like did it get towed? And I'm like, nah, I drove it in. He's like, how? I'm like, practice? Because like the shifting's real sloppy. So I'm like, practice? And he's like, oh, okay, well, let me show you this. So like they have my battery out, my battery tray out. Now I took a look at it the other day, and I took my battery out, but I didn't take the tray out. And I was looking at like where the shifter cables come up to the shifter fork, and where that attaches to like a shaft that goes into the top of the transmission, and then the shifter cables and fork control this shaft, and the shaft controls the gears, basically. So the shaft, once everything's out, the shaft, and I explained that story to him. I looked at this, but I didn't take the tray out, so like I looked, and it looked like there was plenty of movement, so I figured it's probably in the transmission. He's like, yeah, there is plenty of movement. There's actually excessive movement. And he like reached down and like was able to pick up the shaft, and it like raised like 2 or 3 inches out of the not the whole thing didn't come out, but like you were able to like pick it up and like move it like 3 inches higher than it should be. He said something's definitely broken inside there. Man. He said it's held in by a snap ring, but like we could just rip that right out if we wanted to. Like, I don't know how you drove here. He's like, you want me to get you? And I explained to him like car was $1,000 like 3 years ago. I just want to know if it's the transmission or if it's something small. If it's a transmission, I'm definitely not going to fix it. And then he's like, you want me to price this out for you? I'm like, nope. I'm just going to buy a new car. That's just.
Oh, did he say?
Yeah, something's broken inside the transmission. So, what up, Grim?
Hey, Grim. I was hoping it was just like where the.
What up?
I was just hoping like it was the connector for the shaft inside the transmission, but that. Goes,
but even to do that, they'd have to pull the trains out to like take it apart and reassemble it.
Something wrong?
Yeah, trains is trasho. It's pure garbo.
Pure garbo, man. Hey, let me run to the bathroom. I'll ready up. I'll be right back.
Yo, so I've been having some kind of strange problems, right? So with the Jeep, remember I told you before first
making like a whining noise.
Yeah, just sometimes, but not even for long. Only when it was like rainy or humid out, and it definitely sounded like the belt, but not all the time. So. So then it stalled out maybe like 3 times so far. Usually it'll be when like the first time I'm turning on the boulevard off Ron to go to the Wawa. Then when I'm slowing down to go in, basically every time it's when I'm slowing down to a stop. And then it'll
is the car heated up?
Cut out.
Like, are you letting it warm up before this, or is it warmed up by the time you're getting to these positions, these incidences?
Maybe not all the way warmed up, but definitely not still all the way cold, you know? Then also I did notice a couple times when I would be on like 95. Remember the Saturns? I think yours might have it to the SL2, the performance shifting mode. How it would like kind of max out every gear.
Mine were manual.
Okay. Well, I had it, and it was like it would max out every gear, but then sometimes it would kind of get confused. So then, like, say I was like going like 40, and I just like, you know, am coasting, and then I slightly let off the pedal and slightly let back on. It would shift and then shift back up. It did that a couple times too, which it never did before. And also the check engine light's now on. So it's just kind of these minor things, and it starts right back up immediately when it does stall. So it's like, I don't know if this is all related.
Yeah.
It has transmission fluid in it.
What is it? What's the transmission fluid look like? What color is it?
Red. It's just red. I mean, on
Okay.
the dipstick.
Well, yeah, as long as you
Red.
can see the color. I mean, does it look dirty? Does it smell burnt? Does it?
And it's not all burned up. No, look up. There's like 2 people right here.
Okay.
I gotta go somewhere else.
Alright,
I'm on
yeah, I
to
need to do
that.
200 damage here. That's why I came.
Yeah, there's 2
Alright,
people
well,
at
I'm
that
coming to
house.
do my damage.
You guys should have seen me raping kids with the wingman earlier when Grim was
Ooh.
at the store. Shit was ugly, son. Kids were dying.
It feels good when you're wingman raping.
Oh yeah,
Really
man.
does.
It does. They were falling like flies. It felt
Damn,
like Dirty
still no
Harry.
gun.
There's
Come
there's
on.
a yeah, Havoc
Here's
and a
guns.
I got him.
Havoc and-
Havoc and a Mozambique
Havoc
up
too,
there.
yeah.
All right, I found a 45 and a peacekeeper. All right, we
Is
all
that-
got.
is that
something.
enemies?
You want to go try to rape those fools? They landed right.
Yeah,
on you.
yeah. I'm coming back upstairs.
They landed in that
Shit.
house. 2 of them.
Yeah,
And the
out of
third
that
one went
house,
further
okay.
away from us. Yeah. Maybe they'll shoot at the drone and give away their position.
One can only hope.
Did
Yeah, I
you
just
just open the door?
Got a hop up here. Turbocharger.
Do you need that? I only got 60 bullets.
No, I don't. I got
Okay.
enough. I got wingman.
No, that's
Is that you or them?
not us.
Them.
Oh, there they are. There they are. Up. And somebody
coming.
opened the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Faking him out with a decoy.
Somebody up at the tower? Okay.
Yeah, in the tower. Yep. And the other ones are back in here.
One here.
I'm just gonna ignore the tower guy. Yes, I hear them.
Somebody zipping up to the tower?
Yeah. Shit, somebody on the ground over here with
Alright,
Grim.
I'm coming.
I know they're in the tower, but
Yeah, there's one on the ground here too. Shit.
Down an enemy.
I hit that one in the tower. 45. The other one jumped down. Here he comes. Here's the.
Alright. Shield him up real quick.
Call 6 down.
Listen up, I'm getting shot at.
Hell yeah. Kid
Right
in the
here?
tower is the only one
Right here in front of me. They're dead.
Oh, way to go. Way to go.
Last one down and a boom boom.
Hell yeah.
And a boom boom.
Close range. Shotgun bolt.
Best way to put him down with a boom boom.
With the boom boom.
Shield here. Rifle here. Level 2.
I could use a
Exploded
bag.
I think there was a bag in
Heavy.
that purple box. I believe there's a regular bag.
Joe, I think you killed
Not
this. I'm
good.
dropping this.
Take whatever.
Oh, you didn't have his blue.
I
heavy,
picked
man.
up a purple one out of that box I got.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, though.
I don't have a heavy gun yet. I would like one.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, I can't even carry anything.
Recharging
Here's a burning stick. I'm gonna pick up more shotgun bullets, I guess. Alright, nobody wants that 1 to
Yeah,
2?
that's all you. All
No.
you.
I'm dropping a little energy if you need it.
There's energy
Oh,
inside, too.
I think it, oh, search 3.
energy ammo here.
Yeah, I don't
There's a
have
wide
yet.
energy mag too. On the ground.
Use a light mag. I got a pretty sweet 99.
Oh yeah.
Digital threat. Blue stabilizer stock.
Damn, that's way better than my stuff.
Havoc here.
Alright, this doesn't look good.
I just picked up a white clip from my 45,
Still in the
but I got a
circle.
white barrel stabilizer. No sight.
Real one here.
No sight?
You
There's
saw
a
it.
1 to
Yeah,
2
no, I
if
left
there
that
was stuff.
for you.
I
I
just-
mean, it's got iron sights that are okay.
I pinged it like twice. Nobody wanted it. Oh, bag.
A backpack,
Nice.
Nobody wants that U sight.
Oh wait, I'm hearing somebody.
Got
I
bamboozled.
think.
Look at you.
Nobody
dropped
wants that
down the
U
hole.
sight.
That was probably you. Oh, I'll take it. I thought you were taking it.
Got a flatline here. Optics here.
There's a circle sight.
Close range.
Digital thread and a flat line down here. Here's a
Oh,
purple heavy
flat
mag.
line.
I mean light mag.
Level 3.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right.
Alright. So I could use any heavy mag.
There's a blue one up top.
Spitfire here.
Oh
Is
no,
there?
no, no. That
In one
was
of the
never mind. That was
boxes?
before we came. That was yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
did
took
take it.
that.
Okay.
Nah,
Alright, I'm going back for that 45. I just found a gold site.
zipping back up.
So I am dropping that.
Optics here. Close range.
Over here doesn't look good.
All right, all right, all right.
Chua, we're already in the ring.
I'm hearing somebody. Is that you?
That's me on
Yeah.
the track.
Yeah, okay. Scared the shit out of me. Oh, you know what it is? I don't have music playing, so everything sounds louder. So I'm like, oh, it's definitely an enemy.
Knockdown shield here. Level 2.
Ooh, shit. I could really use.
Here's a heavy
ammo.
mag.
Yeah, I just found a blue one. I just realized I
Oh,
only
that's a
have
blue one too. Oh
12
well, I'll
bullets.
take it.
12 bullets. Nah,
You need
you're
it, Joe?
good.
I got
12 bullets
two.
for what?
You only have 12 heavy.
Oh shit.
Heavy.
Oh, I can give you some heavy. I can give you 40 or something.
Light ammo here.
Alright, I have 52 now.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
got 70,
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm not.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not doing super great with it, but
Light ammo here.
actually I'm gonna take that. I just picked up a bigger bag. Oh, and a Bernie stick.
0, you need a knockdown shield.
Okay.
I'm gonna check these bins by the big door.
Light ammo here.
50 something light here. Anvil 1 to 2.
Oh shit, is that an enemy? Yep, enemy
Okay.
right up here.
Oh shit. Sounds like
There's
it.
more. They're to our left as
Ah.
well. To our left also. I got a heal.
Yeah, can't fight
Oh
it
shit,
from that
mechanics
angle.
out in the shit.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
Well, I got the bang.
Bang got banged on.
Another one
You
over
got
there.
her mostly,
Oh
but
shit. Another one up here too. I'm not sure where.
okay.
Behind this rock. Shit. The other guy's.
Somebody over there.
Oh
I
shit.
ran him. Shit, I'm coming with you. I
Yeah, I'm
hurt
coming
the
up to
other guy,
regroup
too.
with you guys.
I downed him, but he got me too.
Shit.
Oh, somebody else's. Alright, he's down.
Downtown,
Downtown
Clowny Brown.
Clowny Brown, mother.
And a boom.
And a boom boom. Here's a gold site.
Here, I'll give you some of those heavy I got.
I'm gonna use this, Phoenix. Oh, we got a vault key.
I don't need more shield cells. I didn't.
Gotta patch myself.
Is there a better shield in here for you, Zero? No, not yet.
Hold on.
Oh no, there might be enough.
Oh, I need
Stabilizer here.
the better one.
Level 2.
What up, Blade?
Here's another
Up
blue one.
here.
Oh, you're the
sweet,
one that
I
needs
found
a
blue,
blue.
okay,
Okay,
packet.
cool. Alright, why is there... What's going on?
I think I heard something.
Did somebody grab the
I'm
vault
not
key?
sure.
Because there should be a...
I didn't know there was
Somebody
one.
did. I don't have it. But
I
I
don't
think
Yeah, I don't
somebody
have it
grabbed
either.
it.
Alright.
I don't have it.
I got it.
Oh shit.
I'm grabbing it.
I
I'm
didn't even
grabbing
know
it.
there was a vault key.
Shield cell here.
6
So right
shield
here, this
cells,
this
little
vault...
ones.
Ah,
Somebody wants it.
we're losing it.
Yeah, right here. Oh, it's gonna be in the storm.
I'm not going for it. I'll drop the key if you want to.
Is,
Yeah, this is,
is
round
this the
two.
first ring? Oh,
No, it's
second
round
one?
two.
Fuck that.
Too
Yeah.
bad. But we kick kids' asses, so that's a
Yeah,
consolation
we're doing
prize.
okay with that. What's up,
Hey,
sir?
Joe. Question. Have you had any issues playing any games of people who like, have you had any issues trying to log in to play any games that I'm game sharing with you?
I don't think so.
Recharging my shield.
I'm mostly
what's up,
playing
Blake?
Apex,
Oh,
but I
sorry.
don't
was
think so.
distracted.
Yeah, cause
Did somebody log in with your shit and like mess
No.
everything up or something? Or
no, I was game sharing. Somebody else was game sharing with me. Joe, you remember that Taylor chick? The Be Gorgeous Always chick.
No.
She was game sharing with the she was game sharing me
Zero,
with
you
Black
still
Ops
need a
4.
knockdown.
Okay, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know if I
Yeah.
know her name, but okay, that sounds familiar.
So she
I heard
also bought the
Shit
new
down here
Modern
a minute
Warfare,
ago.
right? I couldn't another day. And now I'm not able to play it anymore, and it keeps telling me to log in with that account. That's why I was wondering, because I also just bought Resident Evil 2, the Deluxe
Okay.
Edition,
Ah, nice.
and I was going to see if you were able to download it and play it. Because if you can download it and play it, then it's just something that's going on between her and her account with my Xbox, or the game share between me and
Oh,
her.
real close,
that's
real
the
close.
issue.
Yeah, I hear him.
In this
They just
building.
said,
So,
Eyes on one of them here.
is it? Do you think maybe it's a
The building
she
I'm
didn't
in?
change her
I
password
thought
or
so,
something?
maybe not.
I don't know what she did, or she might have moved her gamer tag.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if at some point you were able to try and at least log in to Anthem, because that's the one we game share that I bought that you game share for me, correct? Because I game share Division
Yeah,
2.
yeah, I
from
bought
you.
yeah, I bought Division. Yeah, I can get
Yeah,
in
now
and
see, I-
try
I
to.
logged into
That
Division
was the
2,
two, yeah.
and I didn't have an issue. I don't think I had an issue. It started up and it ran to play it, and I just was like, all right, cool, it's fine, and I backed out. But I didn't actually get in and try
Right.
to play. But when I tried to go on Black Ops 4, and the
Down there, yeah. Oh shit, I'm dead. What the fuck? They were just like chilling right here.
Damn.
I'm sorry, Grim.
Fuck.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh my god. There's trying to land right on me.
All right, one's down.
Back here, somebody.
I'm coming back for you guys.
What's...
He's running towards you guys, kind of.
I'll go around the other side.
Got one here.
Last I saw her was over there.
I'm stuck
Oh,
in the
shit.
corner. I'm stuck in the corner.
Oh, she got me in the back.
Listen up, I'm getting
Got
shot
me with that
at.
havoc.
I'm coming, I'm coming.
She's on the other
Yeah,
side of this
throwing
wall.
grenades
Joe.
at me and shit.
Stella.
Right around here.
Stella.
Oh, that fucking havoc, man.
I'll be excited. She's not been able to play all day.
Behind
Your
you.
footsteps.
I just saw somebody run through the smoke. Damn.
Belly, belly.
We're doing
Come here,
good.
baby.
Motherfucker.
Come here, belly.
Oh man, I wasn't doing too good, but
Come here, baby. I need you to finish your bubba, baby. Hey, come on. Come on.
Seriously, girl, you did it before I do.
But yeah, I'll make a point to log into Anthem tonight before I get off.
Yeah, and shoot me a text or something, or like a message on Xbox, and let me know if you're able to actually like get on, play, or anything like that. Because if so, then I'll just see if I can message her and be like, "Hey, can I re-download it so I can play the game again?" But and if you want, download Resident Evil 2 if you want to try playing that. It's actually pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't played. Resident Evil 2 was the one in Raccoon City, I think.
Yeah, the one that
Yeah,
they just
that
remade.
was like, yeah, like before they all got remade, like back in the day, the second one was like the best one. It was like the 2 CD one. One
Yeah.
CD was Claire, one was Leon. You're in the police station.
Yeah, that's the only one I really remember.
Yeah, the first one was just like super hard. I even played the remake and like I could barely get anywhere. I'd get like no.
Oh, you
bullets.
played the remake. I've been playing it. Two,
What, 2 or 0?
one. No,
He's
not
playing the
two. I played the original Resident Evil
Also,
1 remake.
yes.
HD
I'll,
or whatever.
Well, they call it 0, the one remaster.
Oh, on
But
the
I'll,
Xbox maybe.
I'll get
This
out
was
to
called
later.
Resident Evil.
I'll let you know what
Remastered.
happens.
All right, thanks, bro.
Adios.
Oh no. I
Oh,
played
yeah?
it on PC,
Later, y'all.
Grim. This came later, Blake.
Later, man.
Yep.
Love game with you.
Thank you. This came out like I think this came out after Resident Evil 0. This was like in 2015 or something.
I say we land here.
Because I thought Resident Evil 1, when they remade it, was called 0. I
Oh,
could
it
be
was,
wrong.
but
In that land and around.
no, they've
Oh, okay.
remade it like 2 times at least. At least
Oh,
2 times.
okay. Yeah, I love Resident Evil.
Yeah, I haven't gotten very far on it yet. but it
Grim
is
loved
hard.
zombies before zombies were cool. He was like all about
Yeah.
zombies like 100
Like,
years
saw-
ago.
you saw that shit. How it was
Yeah,
gonna
and then like
be.
Walking Dead came out and everybody else loved zombies.
Yeah, I was like, yo, George Romero, make this movie about zombies. It'll be
Yeah.
cool. And then
Yeah.
he made Walking Dead. That's basically.
Yeah, like in black and white even. It was like
yeah. I told him to do that. I hear somebody.
Yeah, I hear footsteps too. It's
Yeah.
oh right here. Oh what?
Sure, I think they're behind.
Are you fudging kidding me?
oh, I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get
Fudging
there.
fudgeroonies. Right, that robot's cheating. I'm telling you.
Mark him. Mark him.
There's 2 of them over here.
Why are you looking at
Robot. Hurt. You got him.
Looking at me like I did something wrong. Like I stole your dog food or something. Save me, Zero, save me.
Watch your back. I won't move. Faking him out with a decoy.
Thank you. I'm dropping my heel drone up here.
Just a script.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I'll share with you. Now here's a med kit. Oh, I have 2 syringes though.
It'll
so-
probably heal you. Once mine's done, it'll pop up some more for you.
There's a backpack where you marked that in that box next to the wall.
Okay. Next to the
yeah,
wall.
I am
Uh,
so not used to playing with that music. I really thought you guys were enemies like again.
yeah, I'm gonna drop the thingy.
Oh, the audio's glitching on me again. Damn. it.
Yeah. I thought I was crazy, and I'm like, now I really hear stuff. I don't
It's
see
dropping it
anybody.
like it's hot in the background. It's-
Body shield here. Level 1.
Body shield for you. I got 2 ultimate accelerants.
Yeah, I'm on the way to this one already.
I'm about to have my thingy majiggers.
oh yeah.
45 seconds. Rings just up ahead.
You getting shot, Grim?
Oh, I like messed myself up. I'm shooting bot.
Birthday present. Seconds. Rings close.
Do you have a healing thing?
Yeah.
going or no?
I'm coming to you.
10 seconds. A ring. Gone now. Say hello.
Go on now, say hello.
Yo, I saw a video. Somebody, they just started. They had no shield at all, but a full 100 health. They shot the ball down, and it actually hit them and instantly killed them.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was pretty
I mean, I don't know. You think people would realize that they hurt by now?
Yeah.
Well, it was like flying towards them from
Oh.
in front of them.
Oh,
And
it
it
was like
shot them and just like kept coming at them and then just destroyed them.
Indiana Jones boulder.
Yeah. So we got to go through, basically through the vault tunnel is probably the quickest way to get to the ring.
Okay.
Oh.
Deploying here.
Somebody's zipping up top.
Hostile spotted.
I think they just jumped down. Yeah.
Is that really an enemy or?
Yep, they're
Oh,
shooting
they're
at me.
wrong.
Oh yeah.
They're here on me.
Oh,
dead.
it's jumping down. Oh god, oh god.
Yeah, my controller died on the run over.
Oh, they were all in a clump.
It's the clumps.
Uh oh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, if you know like I know.
God.
You better call the po-po and get off the corner.
I just got one
Alright,
more.
well,
in me, guys.
let's make it a ranked
Alright.
one. Let's get all.
Yeah, that was
Alright.
not
Yeah,
a
let's
good
bring
floor
that
to be
serious shit. No.
on. Did you max out a battle pass?
No,
yet,
I got 4 more levels to go.
though? Oh, so what do you think could be the reason that the chip is stolen? It's like idling normally at all times, but then it happened 3 times when I would slow down. It would just like, not even like clunk clunk cut out. It would just like idle and then just like, I would slow down and just like idle off, just like.
What were the other things that was happening besides the noise, the whining noise?
Oh yeah, and the shifting. It shifts normally all the time. I checked, it's not skipping any gears, but sometimes if I'm like coasting towards the bottom of a gear, it happened like 2 or 3 times, like on 95. I'll be going like maybe, or like regular roads, like 45, 55, and I'll let off just a teeny bit and put back on, and it'll like shift down and shift back up like real fast, like choo, choo. And it's just like, it doesn't sound like it's messing anything up, but it just didn't normally do that.
That could just be a circumstance thing, that it's at the bottom of the gear and it's getting ready to shift down, and you give it gas and it takes a second for the computer to catch up.
Like when I had the Saturn and I put on performance shifting, that kind of like, you know, max out every gear and shift at different ratios, that would happen sometimes then. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it's probably. You said you have fluid, it's not all burnt and it's at the right level.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's somebody where I came from and somebody ahead of me. I didn't get anything. I got fucked out of that.
Okay.
I got a 45. Oh shit, that's me, that's me.
That was you. All right, there's another
Yeah.
vest.
Yeah.
All right, guys got vests. Okay. Cool. Over here. Did 96 to him.
Got him.
He's got a buddy. Oh no, that's Graham.
I'm gonna heal up a little bit. Oh, over there.
Yep. Broke his shield.
How are you not dead yet, bro?
He's down, there's another
Crypto
one.
right there.
Oh shit, I thought that was you.
Oh no, it's a Birdman.
He dead.
Nice.
Yay! I'll take the fair one. I put scout.
Oh
in
yeah, I'll
there.
drop my healing drone. Where is the other boxes? I am low on ammo.
Here's the one where
Yeah,
I'm standing.
I'm hearing that glitchy shit again. Purple
Where'd
backpack.
that third
Now you
guy
can
go?
take
You
it.
want it? Alright.
Oh wait, I thought I
go
had a
for it.
purple backpack. I do have a purple backpack. Why did it just say?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
glitching too.
I was like, I thought I had one, but then like it acted like it was gonna let me pick that level 1 up, and I'm like, wait, what? But it didn't.
And then wait, there's 3 boxes, right? The one
Yeah, I don't know where the third one is.
at the end.
Oh,
you probably
Birdman.
pulled
Oh
it
yeah,
out
the first
somewhere.
one was a mirage.
He's over here. Oh, there, no, you've already been in that. That's where the scout is.
Oh, over here. Here's the last one.
This way.
Alrighty then. Hey, I didn't see this guy go down.
There's a cool guy vest.
Oh, that was
I'm gonna
ceiling,
switch
okay.
one of these light guns up for this wingman, I think.
Oh, you both have cool guy vests. Okay.
Wait, whoa.
So you don't.
No,
need
no,
that
no, I
cut?
don't need it. Why did it say I could use it here? I don't need it. I thought I had one on my other gun, but it said like I could take it. Like I could, I don't know. Confusing me. Stuff's happening. I don't know what is happening.
I have a hammer point, a white
Ooh.
energy.
Wow, it's white. I thought the purple was the energy. I'm like, shit, I might pick up that devotion.
Good. Jump in out.
10 seconds. Extended light mag
Ooh,
level 1. Eva 8 here.
got myself a flatline.
Extended light mag here. Level 1.
So here's what you call it?
My kill
purple
three's
bolt.
moving. That thing might be
Oh, and another
shotgun
purple
here.
bolt.
Level 3. Shotgun ammo here.
I could use a heavy clip for my wingman. Oh,
Anybody really low in light? I found a decent.
I got
amount
a 100.
to share.
I got heavy energy.
120.
Oh, I got some light on give you too. I got 24 light. I'm not even using
You don't.
light
You don't
on
have a
it.
light gun? No.
No.
'Cause I got like 160 light. Oh, I thought I was following somebody in here. It's that fucking audio.
Yeah, it sounds like stuff bouncing
Yeah,
on
it's
the
bugging
ship
me
or
too.
whatever.
Yeah, remember?
doing it for
yeah,
all of
on the
us,
ship
okay.
when like a helmet or something would like start bouncing all crazy. It
Yeah.
sounds like that. Oh, there's
Yeah.
a thing with a vault key.
Ah. Yeah, it's on the
Did you
roof.
get it?
It's about
I
to.
can't
It just
see it.
rolled inside.
Oh, it rolled in.
Yeah.
Rolled inside. All right, I'm here. Got me.
That's
Oh,
down here
still
on
up
the.
there.
I got the vault key.
Oh, okay.
Got myself a vault kit.
You
Okay,
saw it
sir.
in here.
Close range. Extended light mag here.
Here's the one.
Ooh, I'll take that for the. I'm gonna drop a U site for my. Actually, I could use that on my 99. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Anybody have a lot of heavy?
Uh,
I only have like.
I
I
got
got
very
96.
little
Here, I can drop some.
Oh, I got
Here.
38. That's
Ryan,
funny.
There. Since I'm just using a wingman, I don't need a whole lot. So your car sounds like could be anything. The stone could be a fuel pump to a.
Yeah, I was
Wall's coming in
thinking
as
maybe
well.
it's a fuel thing. I also. Oh shit, we gotta be quick.
On the vault. Come get your wedding presents.
Gold armor.
Purple bag.
Zero, you should grab that. Or I got it.
I'll
Yeah,
get to
let's
you
go.
later. We just gotta get out of here. Somebody wants this purple shit.
oh, Zero, you don't have a bag.
It's just the first ring.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
taking
yeah.
that purple bag.
Okay.
I just took it.
Oh yeah, we all have purple bags.
Yeah, so it could be a fuel pump, could be it doesn't run like when you're sitting at idle at a light, does like the RPMs go up and down at all? Even a little bit?
No. It
Okay.
runs steady.
Well then it's probably not a vacuum issue.
You got your
Yeah.
drone thing?
Probably not a vacuum issue.
Oh, save it, Zero.
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Thanks.
Also,
Optics. Standard stock here. Level 1.
I noticed the other day when I was driving the wreck, it sounded slightly off.
Off in which way?
Not anything crazy.
I'm calling my specialty. Like, what did it?
I don't know. It didn't sound like anything was like crazy or fucked up. Most people probably would notice, but it sounded slightly different. So I pulled over and checked my fluids and was low on oil, like below the ad line.
Oh, somebody's throwing grenades at us.
And then, oh shit. Either behind us or in front of us from the angle.
Oh, over here, over here, over here.
Oh shit.
Broke one shield.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't move because of that. Gas.
Oh yeah, the gas is getting
Oh, they
me,
got a
gas is
drone on
getting me.
us.
Damn, I think there's more than one squad because somebody shot my decoy kind of far away.
Here,
over
I'll
this way.
zip us the fuck out of here. I'll zip us the fuck out.
Alright, go ahead.
On me.
I'm coming.
Oh, they're on the fucking
I'm
thing.
getting followed by this dumb fucking drone. I'm down.
There goes my shields.
If you see them,
They're on the in the
All my shields.
thing. Yeah.
oh tower. I can't hit him.
I broke a shield.
Right here.
Drones.
Broke a shield. He's down.
Oh, I hit this one for about 50 or 75. I'm down. I'm crawling away. I'm just marking him.
Fuck, man.
Oh, good going though. You were doing good. We did all. We came out.
Yeah,
fast.
I was shooting in the beginning. I was shooting at the drone, and I'm like, Joe, stop shooting at the drone because right now it's 3-on-2. Let's win. Let's kill these two, and then find that punk ass third, and make them regret it.
Oh, it's right.
Oh shit, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh, you guys were. That's why you're doing okay though. You're just playing
Yeah.
easy. No
Time to make
pressure.
10 points. I'll
No
take it.
pressure.
Hell yeah.
Me too. That's something I got.
Nice.
I
All right,
like-
guys. I gotta get off here. I gotta.
Alright, Zero. Adios, buddy.
Alright,
But I'll see
Yeah.
you soon.
Alright, thank
Probably
you for the
tomorrow.
games.
All right.
Peace out,
Peace
Cub
out.
Scout.
Yeah, you guys too.
Alright, Zio. Have a good day
See
at
you
work,
guys.
man.
Yep.
Yeah, y'all too. Thanks a lot. See you guys.
Don't forget your seat cushion.
Be the seat cushion. Alright, so I just leveled up in my
Oh.
shit. So
Oh, what are you at on the
I
battle
just went to
pass?
107.
Yo, I maxed out the battle pass, and you were ahead of me. You know how I did it? Playing the train thing. Like a game, if you have like 1,000 damage and like 5 kills. You know how if you get a battle point level, like 1,000 damage and like 5 kills was like a whole one of those plus another 10%. So like you could level up a whole level in one game.
Really? So stop
Yeah.
knocking out these challenges and go. Got almost 5 weeks. Alright, you wanna do the Christmas?
I just gave up on my challenges. Like I don't know. Once this event started, I never even looked again, and I just maxed the shit out just by XP. I'd be like, I don't know, 90 something, and I maxed out just on XP, and I don't even play a lot. What gun are you trying to use? Cause a lifeline for today is my main on the train. She has a flat line.
No,
If you
that's
want
fine.
her, crypto has a flat line too. I mean,
Nah,
technically
that's
she's
fine.
crypto.
If you were using Lifeline earlier, use Lifeline. I'll be, I don't know. Whoever's got the triple take P2020 combo.
Do you like the?
It's okay.
P2020?
In this game, it's not bad. I don't like it in normal games. In this game, because everybody's so close, it's not bad.
I'll tell you what. I remember earlier, I was looking at the death recap. Somebody killed me with a P2020. I had like 140 health, and in 4 shots, they were able to kill me with a P2020. I mean, I personally can't land 4 P2020 shots in a row. Oh wait, no! Oh, god damn it!
What are his guns?
I picked Scout and maybe P2020. Let me give that up because I gotta take this like zoom sight off and shit. Oh, Scout
Okay.
99.
That'd be doable.
Yeah. Not
Where you
too
going,
bad,
buddy?
but I don't know. The 99 doesn't seem to.
No.
Wait, what? No, you idiot. We gotta go this way, you dummy. What's this dude doing?
You might have thought that's where the train was going. Somebody's still sniping at me from the fucking mountains. Holy shit.
Are you
Yeah,
with me?
someone's
Yeah,
up
you
there
are, right?
somewhere. They were shooting from like above me. It seemed like. Yeah, they're all the way up on the fucking top. How's that not out of bounds?
It is. Oh shit! I'm gonna try to get to the train. Oh, come on!
Oh, I tried to hit him with my smoke. I'm smoking and healing.
All right.
Oh, they see me.
Got 3 fools real quick.
Coming in the front, I think.
I think he's coming to the back. He's almost.
Nice, we're the last alive. Good shit.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
That's what I'm talking about. Good shit, KOS, insane and snipe. Oh no, it's not insane and snipe. It's insano snipe.
Oh. I thought it said kids in space or some shit.
That's ridiculous. You're not doing too bad for a kid in space there, kid in space.
Hey, I mean, if a kid can make it to space, I
That's
want
what
him on my
I'm
team.
talking about. People are fighting already.
They're on the roof and shit. Ah!
Please mind the gap as you exit. And promise you are not the only squad on the train.
Oh no, they're on the roof. Fuck. Ah, I caught myself with that art star a little bit. And it caused me to die.
Aye! Yeah,
No.
work tomorrow.
Going to. Oh, so my car, I drove it to the mechanic shop. All that stuff happened.
Oh yeah. So
So
what happened with the car?
they're like, they call me back. Hey Joe, you got a second? And I come back and they're like, did you drive your car here? And I'm like,
So in the beginning though, how did everything start in the beginning though?
what do you mean?
Like you're driving and then just
No,
like,
it
breaks down, or
wouldn't
what?
go into first, and would barely go into
No,
third.
it wouldn't go in the
But I
first
could
gear.
get it in second, fourth, fifth, in reverse.
Oh, I feel like this. You said this. a
No,
while
this was
ago,
like the
right?
last week this started happening.
Last week. I mean, not a while.
Yeah.
Like a few days ago. Right?
And then I
Okay,
took it to the
do
shop
remember
because
that.
of it,
Okay.
and they oh, what are you doing, kid? And then they like pulled it in the back and they're like, yeah, did you drive this here? I'm like, yeah. They're like, how? I'm like, I don't know, practice.
Let's go for the train. I'm just gonna land right in. it.
Okay.
Not sure. I think someone's targeting.
Fuck, they're shooting me from across the way.
Get out there, man. Reloading. The train is stopping at this station.
Get fucking up. Alright. Someone, you drop it off the shop.
Ah, man.
It's gonna be a
Come on,
sniper.
teammate. I just lit up 2 people right there. Yeah, so I took it to the shop, and they're
You're
like,
there or with us?
did you drive it here? I'm like, yeah. They're like, how? I'm like, I don't know, practice. Turns out they couldn't get it in gear and pulled it in the shop. And then they, they show me that, like, where the cables come out, there's like a fork on the end of the cables that goes to like a shaft. Yeah, that
Fork?
goes into the transmission, and that I could see the top of that shaft pivoted. Like, I looked at it myself a couple days ago, and I could see there was plenty of movement. That's why I figured it was inside the transmission. And then when they looked at it, they could actually like lift up the shaft like 2 or 3 inches. There was that much play in it, and they said like, yeah, it's something's broken inside the transmission. So I said, don't even bother me like pricing out a transmission. I'm just gonna get a new car. And then I get in my car to try to leave, and like it won't go in any gear. I can't even leave the parking lot. Yeah.
From the mechanic
So
shop?
I talked to them, and I told them, I asked if I could leave it there overnight, and I'd be there in the morning with a junkyard, and I'm gonna just have a scrap yard pick it up from there.
So you're gonna bring in the
No, I'm
parts
gonna
or
have a
whatever?
scrap yard meet me at the mechanic shop and scrap the car.
Wait, you're like kind of breaking up. I'm talking.
I'm buying a new car, so I'm gonna have
I am taking fire, friend.
the tow truck meet me there.
Oh, you're just gonna
Yeah.
scrap that car.
Oh shit, they're everywhere.
The train is stopping at this station. Shot at. Recharging shields. Give him my shields recharge.
We're gonna have to get to the train soon.
Oh, somebody's up here. Oh, we gotta get to the train now. Train now, train now.
I'm going. to
Ah,
train
man, I
now.
died. Ooh, trying to rush it. So yeah, so that's part of why I couldn't get on earlier. I was cleaning up some of Opie's mess, and I was also like looking on Craigslist for cars. So I found a couple that I'm interested in. I found one I was really interested in, except it's only 2-wheel drive, and it's
What kind of car?
like the truck, like the Dodge Dakota, but it's a 4-door. And it's like, I think it's like $2,000. It's like a 2001 Dodge Dakota 4-door. So it looks just like that same body, except it's maroon and has 4 doors.
Let's go straight for the
Alright.
truck.
2
For how
grand.
much?
But it's only 2-wheel drive, which... What?
Wait,
Yeah.
is that a dead body? What the fuck?
Oh my god.
What?
I got smeared on one of those poles in the center of the fucking track.
That's what it looks like. Man.
I tried to jump in the front, but I was too late, so I jumped and I was like climbing the side to get to the roof, and then I got smeared along the side of the train by that pole. There's people on the platform to your left. Yeah, up there. Nice. Why are you still Mirage? I thought you were gonna switch.
I forgot to like switch.
Oh man, new kill leader.
You are not the only squad on the train.
I'm the new kill leader.
Oh shit.
Nice.
At least one other squad has boarded the train.
So yeah, so there's that truck. There's a 96 Jeep Cherokee, just like my mom's, except it's tan, for like 1,900 bucks. Got 145,000 miles or something on it. The Dodge has 108,000.
For how?
They're
For how
both like 2 grand. The Dodge is like 19. The Jeep is like 1850 or something. Oh, my audio is glitching. It sounds
Yeah.
sounds
you
like the
keep hearing
Devotion's still shooting. Yeah.
Devotion or some shit. Yeah. I've heard this a couple times. It's annoying. It's like in one spot. I think.
No, it's the teammate.
You? No.
Yeah.
Our teammate? I guess he's not gonna be sneaking up on anybody. Alright. One more and we're done.
We got this. Here I go.
Teammate. Your teammate over there. Guy coming. Oh, I got blown. the fuck out.
Oh, grenade. Oh man, I did like 130 damage to the person on the train, dude. The Wraith. There's somebody on the left side of the train now. A robot. Behind you, behind you, behind you. Nice. Behind you, right there.
Oh! No. Is that our
Yep.
whole squad? Yeah.
Hopefully that's Team A that's capturing it. Yep, that was Team A. Nice. So we get one more shot. I need 2
Yeah.
more kills and probably 800 more damage. I don't know what my current damage is.
You guys all missed. Did I mention that? You guys lost this round, or did somebody won the train?
Right down the wire.
Down to the wire.
On point, Mirage.
Miragetron.
Someone almost has enough points to win. Train's moving. Better get on it fast.
It's the finish line's made out of fishing line. I don't see it till it's too late. Where do you want to go? High ground?
I guess it's up here. I like to go up here, and then when the trains go by, I just like drop right on it. Like right here. Sometimes it'll fall down a little
Oh,
bit.
okay. I like jumping. Oh, no! Oh, god damn it.
Oh,
I
we're
jumped
gonna
like
make
right in front of a Watson.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dead.
Making a pit stop. Never know what we'll pick up.
Yeah, it would help if our teammate wasn't just a sniper. I mean, he has a lot of kills, but it doesn't help us when they're on the train. fighting.
Right. Kills aren't the only object of the game.
So the only way that we don't
If he
lose
kills
is
everybody.
if it times out and nobody's to center car.
Yeah.
Or he kills everybody. Yeah, I forgot he could win. I just wasn't counting on that happening.
At least one other squad has boarded.
Ah, did you not see them? Oh my god. Oh my god. Turn around. Ah!
Thank you, everybody. Round of applause for the kid in space.
Kid in
We have a winner.
space. Yeah. Now watch. Before it shows your kills and shit, the screen comes up with your damage.
Narrow win, but we
And
got one.
well, not your damage, your XP. And you should get a whole lot of XP.
3 kills, 800 damage.
Let's see. I think it's 50,000 per battle pass level. Let's see. Ah, what?
I got
6546. Maybe 'cause-
my battle pass is 180,000.
Maybe it gets multiplied.
I got 7,000. Yeah.
Really? 180,000 per level.
Well, at least for the
Just
next
to do that
level.
battle pass?
XP and challenge stars earned 7728. So I have 9. I mean, I gained whatever. I had like that was just into level 107, like 2,000. So now I have 9,000 out of
No, okay.
right. No, it's
So you're at
18,000. Wait,
107,
what?
so you only have 3 more?
1, 2, 3. No, yeah, it's 18. Yeah, it's 3 zeros. So it's 18,000.
Yeah, so it looks like it's only earned 6,500. I guess if you come in first, it's like multiplied. Because I swear, I did a whole level in just one game, and it was mediocre. Zero did too. It was with me. Alright, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Alrighty.
I'll ready up.
I don't know, man. A lot of cars out there with 200,000 miles on it.
All aboard the Winter Express. It's a good day to take out some fools and be back in time for dinner. I got pork chops tonight.
Is this 4-wheel drive? 15, it's got almost 200,000 miles on it, but it's an 03 Ford Explorer pickup. The sport truck.
Step aside, champion coming through.
They just put new glass in there.
Hold on tight. It's time to drop, shock, and rock. Let's check out this area. Capture the train to acquire the most points. Let's go this way.
Oh shit.
No.
Get me out of here. Alright, I'm gonna get closer to the car.
Just broke somebody's shield in the first car there with my Rockstar.
Oh shit, behind us! Oh no!
Right around that corner. Oh, they know where I am because they burned me. Alright, I'm with you.
Going. Oh, it's a decoy. I'm going back to the train. Probably up top.
I'm checking the up tops out.
Oh shit,
Oh.
it's down the center car. Shit. I was reloading and it popped out.
Are you? Oh my goodness. Fucking gracious. Alright, I'm switching characters. You should switch to Lifeline or whoever you want to be. Yes, no. Cool, beaners. Yay, nay, spay your pets. It's the coolest of the beaners when you're not talking to me or I just wanna be a Lear jet, but I can't be 'cause I'm a person, not a vet.
Contact with Aston.
Listen up. Stop on the train for a moment.
Somebody zipping over to you. Train. Ah, mother. Oh. Tell your mom I said hi.
Train's moving. Better get on it.
I assume that's why you're not speaking to me no more. He's a horse.
Oh shit. Oh, you couldn't hear me?
No,
the
I was
whole
talking
time.
about how like I couldn't hear you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
It's me. Or maybe not. It's definitely not the robot.
Yeah, I coughed and I muted while I was coughing. Like in the middle of that fight. Yeah, I said that was rough.
Alright, here we go. People landed with us, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe.
Oh shit.
No, okay. Maybe that was our teammate.
Alright, I'm gonna drop on top of the train. Oh shit. Where's the top of the train? Right here. Nobody's in the front car.
I'm on top of the third car.
It's not even on here.
Oh,
Alright, I'll look underneath the
oh,
car
no.
then.
Somebody's
Pop
shooting from over there.
up. Yeah, nobody's on the train. Come on, come on, come on!
Yeah, mother bitches, suck on them titties.
People are coming on you. Oh shit. Yep. Well, we still got the win.
Oh man, somebody shoot me from behind. Damn! Damn! Oh, budge, crap,
Oh,
pooping, knocking.
I am almost fucking dead. I need to heal. I have like 1 health.
Nice little hidey hole. Hidey hole!
Are you dead? Shit. Yeah, I never knew this was even here. I just accidentally fell in it. Oh no. Everybody's dead. Come on. Okay, nice.
You're not gonna make it. Oh. It's probably better to do that because you get the most points for capturing a train, they said. When we were flying in, there was a voice that was like,
Oh yeah.
you get most points for capturing the train. Yeah,
Oh, that
somebody
was
did. I don't know if it was Mirage, but
So we're all tied up with
it's a big old oneer. I'm gonna do one.
big old one.
So yeah, I found a Jeep like my mom's, an Expedition like my dad's. Right now, I'm also looking at a 2000,
How much was the
like
Expedition?
$1,100. It's a '97, but it's the same body style, just
Still.
in silver. I mean, it looks pretty clean. It's got some like tears in the seats, but like,
They're further down here. Shit.
how's that not burning you? I'm being shot from behind. No! Oh my god, every time it's from behind.
Jordan, it's time. Okay? Time to earn my MBA. I know it's my next step for promotion and raise. I need something fast and convenient.
Damn, started contesting that the last second.
Yeah, I just barely.
Yeah,
That sounds perfect. I'm applying now. Apply
not our teammate.
So what are you leaning towards for the new
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
like-
he's dead.
The Dodge, the 4-door Dodge, says it's got 108,000 miles on it. I really like those numbers, but it's
108.
but it's two-wheel drive, so like it's gonna suck in the snow if we get any.
Oh, so it can't.
Right, it just wasn't built with it. But the Dodge, I'm actually selling this back to Cribbler, but this Dodge is two-wheel drive also, but I had the Focus, which was front-wheel drive, which I can get around the snow if I needed to. But I just came across a 2003 Ford Sport Trek, which is like they were like Ford Explorers, but the pickup version of it. So it, yeah.
Sport Trek?
So it looks like a Ford Explorer from the grill back to behind the rear doors, and then it's a pickup bed instead of like an enclosed body. and that's 4-wheel drive, and that's only $1,500.
Shit, where you at?
There's people on like the skyscrapers. And they're just fucking me up.
Yeah, I hate when I do that shit.
Somebody down there with you?
Oh no, she's almost dead. Yes,
Oh,
there's a bunch
shit,
of
somebody's
people
capping the train and going for the train.
I almost killed the lifeline, then I killed the Mirage, but then the lifeline. So you're definitely looking for something bigger.
Yeah, I was thinking about a pickup again, but it would have to be have more room than just a regular cab. So like I was even thinking like a minivan would give me like enough room for like projects, and also like all the seats I would need.
Did you not see him? Oh, it's you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh,
right. Okay. Oh, shit, I did not know. That was a pretty good dive. The Mirage isn't as much. Then you have to
Yeah.
squeeze in behind. But yeah, like, you're a lot bigger than I am, and I also am like, cars are kind of annoying, they're kind of small.
Yeah.
You know, like you're taller than I am, and even like when I'm in a car, I feel like my head's like almost rubbing on the ceiling.
yeah, I miss.
Your
I
head
miss
probably
the
does
the
rub on
big like the Durango. Like I love the Durango. Yeah,
That
Yeah.
is a big truck. That is, yeah.
I'm going straight for the train
Are you going straight for the train?
because we had a chance to get it before it
Alright.
went into the tunnels.
I am in the other
Okay.
end of the tunnel.
Just
So I'm
surprised
trying
when we come out. Shoot me in the back again.
falling off, man.
All right, 2 down. Oh, again, shot in the fucking back, man. Oh, it's really stressing me.
Again, our teammates just like, I'm gonna hide until you guys are dead, and then I'll pop out and die.
God damn it, man.
So basically, you're just having a scrap truck come and pick up the Focus,
Yeah.
right? Because that'd be like pretty much totaled by how much
Yeah.
it costs to fix, right?
I don't
much
know.
you
I
giving
didn't
it
call
for it?
anybody yet. I'm gonna call them tomorrow morning.
So when you buy a new truck, like when's it all going down?
Yeah, kind of. Kim's
Fine,
off for the
maybe
rest of the year, so like, I have like 2 weeks to figure it out because I can take her car to work or get dropped off or whatever. But
Okay.
yep.
I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
I mean, well, really, Brenda, I ain't capping my G. I'm going for that house.
Oh man. Whew, I'm so out of breath. I'd go to the bathroom and make chocolate milk. Alright, I'm coming with you. So Kim is off for the
Yeah.
next couple weeks? How come? Because she like maxed
She
out
had
hours
enough
or whatever?
PTO time to take off for the rest of the week or for the rest of the month. Yeah.
Ah, nice. And she has to
Yeah,
use it
she
every
can
year,
roll
right?
over 5 days, which she was going, which I think she still is going to. So she can roll 5 over, but that's it. The rest will just get wasted. Shit, somebody just landed on me. I'm coming to you. Oh my god! Fuck you, man.
Oh, you got. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Yay! We win. Oh, and I forgot to change my guy again. So weird. There's a 3x site if we want to.
Oh yeah, since when do we... Nice. I'll drop that sniper. A 3x definitely makes things easier for me with this longbow.
No, I usually like throw it like off while we're like flying in. So is Kim off until New Year?
Yeah, I think the first week of January she goes back.
Oh. So what do you guys want to do for New Year's?
I don't know.
I had people on the glass up there, down over there to the right. Coming to the back, I hear him.
We captured the train. Get out of here, there's only room for one caustic. There can be only one, bro.
Oh, so for work, right? Like, for like the 3 like holidays, like Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we had to pick like what day went off. So I was like, Christmas Eve, I know I'm probably not gonna get off because the other bartenders were other. So, oh shit, what the?
How did they just die?
Oh no, they died, and then I thought you were ahead of me, and I thought like you were somebody else shooting behind me.
Somebody shooting from behind?
Fuck out of here, Caustic. I thought we established.
Oh no! Shit, man, my controller died. I don't know, it's like they're not charging on this thing. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
So basically, I usually close. So I was like,
My game just crashed. Are you here? What's happening with my fucking system? What the fuck is going on, man? Yo,
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. My controller
Get rid of
died, and then I was like bitching about that to you, and then all of a sudden I was plugging it in because I have a USB, so I was just plugging it in so I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. And then all of a sudden, just like booted me back to the dashboard. So I'm like, what? So like I'm saying that to you. I'm like, hello, are you here? And then like it kicked me out of the thing, out of the party, out of. It's just a fucking mess. I don't know what's going on. But now I'm in your lobby again.
Yeah, we're like flying in. I was like explaining about.
No, you can play.
I was like, no, I already left. I was like explaining how I took off New Year's Eve, so hopefully we can do something cool. And then I look and like, you're dead. I'm like, you're dead. How'd you die? And then you just left the party. And
I'm not telling you how I died. It's my secret.
Do you want to keep doing train
Yeah,
or
we
regular?
can do train.
No.
For a little bit until I lose my mind.
I'm like not even close to 75 train captures. Even when we win, it's just by killing everybody.
So you want to be Lifeline. Lifeline.
Oh. Yes. Well.
Then you want to be Crypto. You want to be Crypto. Wait, no, is this...
Well,
why is it not... It's not showing us
I just
their
don't
thing.
really crypto. Oh, yeah, right? Where's all the guns? I didn't change anything. Was I in your lobby?
I was in your
or
lobby.
my What?
In the beginning, before I got booted, it might have been my lobby. But...
Okay.
So maybe it reset everything when I got booted? I don't
So
know.
then maybe, yeah. Okay.
I would have just warm them up then. We'll just trash them all with the trash can, mans. I gotta get 200 damage in the
Trash
fuel
'em all.
depot, which is right on the other side of those mountains.
Fuel depot it is.
Here we go. Ready up.
Oh, it's like on the
Yeah.
other side of the city.
I wasn't even close to that. Why did our boot feet come on? Our boot feet.
Not the boot feet.
And I need headshots for the assault rifles also.
Assaults. What's that?
301, flatline,
Oh.
hemlock.
301, flatline.
Even the
LMG is the weird one. It's like Devotion and
Spitfire.
Spitfire. And the L-Star.
Oh, yeah, the L-Star.
Whoever gets that really. I dropped the scout.
Yeah, I had a scout, but I dropped it because I needed thingy majiggers. I pinged a barrel stabilizer. I don't know if anyone wants it.
Use a bag.
Backpack here. Level 1.
Nice.
How are there like no guns?
So what did you need to do here?
Damage.
That was
200.
an accident. Yeah.
200 damage, which I guess isn't happening.
It's not a whole lot of people to kill here.
You need a knockdown shield.
Knockdown shield here. Level 1.
Ooh, a 2x. Yay. Oh, there's loot across the river. I think we should zip.
Yo. Let's get it.
There's a loot thing over there I was trying to shoot, but very difficult to aim when you're on the zippity line.
Yeah, it might have a key.
Energy ammo here.
Oh, here's a hemlock. I got a flatline I'm gonna drop if you want it.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go double heavy. I'm gonna go hemlock and flatline. Here, I got a little something.
Yeah, I see him. That's a decoy. The guy running towards me.
Okay.
Real
I
guy
got a
was
blue
back there.
stabilizer if you want it.
I think they're right on the other side of the ship.
Yep, right there.
That's 2 out of 3. There's one left
there somewhere.
Yep.
Oh shit, there's a third squad. No.
Oh shit, what's that?
Yeah.
Third squad?
Yeah,
Or
we're being-
second squad?
3P'd. Come on, teammate, get the banner, get the banner. Do something, teammate. Stop fucking looting. Are you kidding me?
He's just, yeah, he's just in the box. Yay, teammate. I was like so bad at first. My game.
No. Yeah, I
You hear me?
sent a text to voice thing.
Oh, okay.
My God, oh man, I hate randoms, man. They like booted me out of your
I
yeah.
got booted the home stream. Oh, so Winter Express already did it.
So I need 20 headshots with assault rifles, 20 knocks. I need to outlive 200 points. 10 something at Pathfinder. I'm a low life. This guy's my pain.
I know all the roads. They all lead to the same place.
Yo.
Man, I gotta quit smoking. I'm up those steps and I'm out of breath.
Thought you enjoyed smoking.
I do, but I also don't enjoy being on breath.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize I was Jump Master. Yeah.
People over there.
Somebody's capping it?
Somebody's on the train. Shit. Oh, man. Terrible.
Being shot from behind again, mother.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Are you gonna be Lifeline? Oh no, teammate's still Lifeline, never mind.
Wait, teammates lifeline?
Oh, maybe you are then.
Sorry.
Somebody, I thought you were Crypto. Somebody's.
I don't know. My player 2? I don't even know anymore.
I don't even know who I am anymore.
Yeah, I was lifeline. Yeah. Like, I swear I was lifeline. They went across the street. And there was a squad. Who the hell are they all fighting? Oh, back behind us. Yeah.
Somebody just landed on us.
Alright, I'm coming to train.
No, no! Oh my god, this is stressing me the fuck out, man.
Oh.
Oh my god.
I'm 1-1. I'm not getting smoke. I'm getting drink.
Stressing me out, man.
Oh, nice. Our teammate left us. Sweet. Alright, now we definitely need to get a team engaged first. Oh, I just jumped off. Alright, I'm down here with you. I'm hearing somebody
Yeah.
above us.
Here's some sliding around. Just got pulsed.
We just got pulsed.
They're capping.
We got the train.
Yeah, same here.
I'm on here. I'm on the back. Okay.
Lifeline in front of me. She's down. I need to shield up. Nice. Thank you.
Oh shit, there's a grenade. That's gonna blow me up. Oh my god.
Wow, my. Oh my god.
You weren't doing bad for a two-man squad. You see this picture right here? I wonder if you can like shoot the camera while you're on the train. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to check one time when we survive.
Oh, do you want to see
Sure.
that site? Oh shit.
Thank you.
It's like up there or something. Oh, there's somebody over there. But I can't shoot that far.
Could if you didn't give me a 2x sight.
Right there. There's
Yeah, this person on the tracks is shooting at me. Broke his shield. He's up in the air.
We're gonna have to get to the
Yeah.
track soon. I keep trying to send decoys. Somebody's behind this rock, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, over there.
That was a decoy. They're capping the train.
Oh shit, we gotta get to the train.
Same here.
I'm going to the train. I'm going to the train.
No! No! Stop fucking shooting me, bro. God! Oh my god! Oh, I can't. I don't got many more of these games in me. These are fucking really pissing me off.
Yeah. It is
There's
tough.
still time to enroll in the MBA program at University of Maryland Global Campus. Earn an MBA online in just 18 months for about $25,000. Classes begin January 2nd. Visit umgc.edu. Certified operator Virginia by Chef. Xfinity Home is ready to move in and provide your
So A and B are one ring away from having.
with the easy-to-use app and the ability to set real-time alerts. Peace of mind and security are always within reach. Call 1-800-XFINITY or go to xfinity.com/homesecurity today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas.
Probably a bit. Move.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here, do you want this site?
Thank you.
Alright, maybe we should let them kill a few of each other if we can.
Oh,
Oh shit! Alright, I'm following you. Let's go inside. I can leave them. So now we're super close to the train. I think I hear them.
yep. Nice. I gotta heal up. They're capping the train. Alright, somebody stopped it. Alright, cool. I gotta heal up. Nope, they're capping again.
Somebody's on the opposite side of where we were.
Yeah.
So like up on
Fucking me up.
those brakes over there.
Behind us.
Here's somebody on the right side of the train. I killed the Costa, but they got sniped. So somebody's gonna win this. Oh, is that the warning you got?
Yeah,
Small
I just
warning
got another
earlier?
one.
That one
Yep.
you're probably getting right now.
Got our champion. Close one.
Well, you did a lot better than I did. My teammate was a bitch. So want to keep doing
I can
train
do
or
the
regular?
train a couple more times.
No.
It's really stressing me out, but
Hopefully I'm loading in. It looks like you just unready. Okay, I'm loading. Oh, so at the bottom of my screen it says drone EMP and Neuralink can still be used when you're not piloting the drone. So does that mean if you leave that little camera somewhere, if you just like are running around, you can tap left bumper, right bumper? EMPs?
maybe.
So you can leave it like a remote mine?
Maybe, that's what it sounds like.
So I know you can leave it out and they're like
Right.
scanning enemies. I was playing with this crypto dude who was pretty good. He put the drone like above the doorway between the front car and the middle car, and nobody shot it the whole game, but it was just like scanning everybody the whole game. We also kept winning, so you know, maybe if a team was by themselves on the train, you don't notice it. Let's see if we can just steal the train right away.
I fucking didn't make this shit.
Somebody landed behind us in the back car, I think. I don't see anybody. Maybe they're on the roof? I don't know. I thought I heard it.
Oh, right now. What? How did that not? My crosshairs were 100% on him. Nice.
I got the caustic, but I'm like super almost
Yeah, I got
dead.
you covered.
Oh shit. Damn, how many people are being
Oh, they're here already?
Oh my god! No! I fell off the train. I'll have to fly to you guys.
No! Oh, and on the roof too. Oh shit, I'm off the train too. Yeah, yeah, there was two people.
Okay.
I jumped off the one jumped off. I jumped off to chase them and to try to stay alive. So I'm gonna hit one of these skyscrapers to heal up, and then I'll be down.
I'm
Oh,
going
made
over
me
to
slide
that.
off.
Oh, you already flew in. Okay. Oh, teammate's dead. Good. Looks like they're on the far side. Up. Somebody's down that stairwell right there. Shit.
Oh, they're capping the train. Being shot from.
Oh, right in front of you. Oh, shit. No, you bitch. Nice. Center cart.
No,
Nice.
no.
Oh shit. Oh, what?
Get up. Come on. There we go.
They're getting center cart. Up, time's out. Nope. If you just die, you get brought back with all your grenades. So it's actually kind of like, I mean, you lose the kill, but then you're fully healed and you get your grenades back. So I usually just die in that
Okay,
scenario.
that's why I didn't shoot. I'm taking your advice.
Yeah. Where's your moment to go?
Can I get that 2X? If you still have that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I'm being shot from across the way.
Let's go to
Okay.
the train. I don't think anybody.
Oh shit! Oh, there's definitely people in the back car.
Oh man, she killed me in the smoke. I should have not fought her in the smoke. Ugh. Oh. That was bad. Did you see that shoot? No. It was like, almost like he wasn't touching his joystick. He shot like 2 feet overhead, 3 bursts with him like boom, 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 same exact spot while standing still. Then he like slammed the joystick and then shot at the floor 1 more time before he died.
Nice.
It's like,
Well, I missed the fucking roof.
I'll go on with you.
Yeah.
Hey, you want the site?
Two.
Right.
Somebody landed behind us or something like.
Nah, I didn't see anybody yet. I'm hearing people somewhere. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. No way. We got it. There's still people alive though. I don't know where they are. Right over here. Got it.
Nice. Smear.
I'm hearing somebody else. I don't know. Maybe it's just a robot. I don't know.
Ding, ding, ding. Oh, somebody flew on us.
Towards the back, I think.
Maybe it's teammate. He's flying around.
Yeah, maybe. No, I'll come stand with you.
2 people laying on the tracks in front of us. Oh, lifeline in the front car.
Oh no!
Stop on the train for a moment.
Oh, I'm so dead.
Squad has captured the train. The rest of you start rocking.
Oh, he let it get.
Yeah.
Train's moving. Better get on.
What the fuck? Yo! Oh my god, dude. He really just hides on the side until it gets taken. Like, what? What are you doing, bro?
Yeah, these randoms are driving me nuts.
It's me, Matt.
Good to know, Matt. You suck. Oh, okay. He just like was able to kill somebody real quick and get us spawn.
Let's just like go for the train.
Alright, people landed on the roof of.
Oh, you're not going.
I was already landed by the time. I'll meet you at the train now, though.
Nobody's on here.
There were 2 people at the train station.
Unless they're in the front, and I just didn't see them. Fuck out of here, Mirage.
Whoa! I don't know how none.
Coming.
Oh my god. Woosah! Oh my goodness.
There it is. Alright. Big thanks to our teammate. It's me, Matt. Yay. He was the
Dumb
best.
ass, bitch ass, Matt ass.
Well, this last flag, we've got the champion.
Oh man.
No. I'm taking a smoke break.
Alright, sounds good.
Ooh, I got an Apex bag. Come on, something cool. Blue, blue, white. And octane equip. 15 crafting materials. Alright,
Okay.
I'll be back soon. Let me drop out so you can play.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll be back soon.
gotta rewrite these things. 20 headshots with assault rifles. 20 knocks. Knocks with Miss Wraith. Or Bloodhound. So I could have just done BH.
These days it's hard to get anyone to look up from their phone. As a nation, we are obsessed. But when it comes to buying an engagement ring, a device is no substitute for advice. And nobody gets better
outlive 200 opponents.
Jewelers. We're diamond experts, real live human beings who explain your options and guide you to the perfect ring. There's no app for that, my friends. So use your phone to map directions to Benari Jewelers in Exton and Newtown Square.
Alright. Supply used. Squad mates. Is it Pathy Boys line? What's next? Get 1 kill with Gibraltar's bombardment. Do the legendary body shield 3 times. Yo, Mr. Pat Pie, what up, buddy? Just looking at my challenges. Spin. Bloodhound. Scan 20 enemies. I need 20 kills as Gibby, Bangalore Octane. Gibby. Bang. Or the original OC man. 15 knocks with like machine guns. L M G. 5 supply guns and Skyhook. thermal station. Week 10, I need police top 5. I need to do one more top 5 placement. Top 5 placement. Alright. 2 neutral care packages in a single match. Week 2. Care packs. One game. Phase 15 spots. Alright. So that's what we're gonna do. We are going to I'm gonna try this. 5 kills, piece of the hot. Bloodhounds ult. I need headshots at LMGs. Uh, 10 knocks for charge rifle. I need one more knock to Lava Fisher. I need knockdowns at Lava City. There we go. These are all my challenges so far. Apex Legends. See what they do. Give that up. I'm just gonna follow them wherever they want to go. Be a good teammate.
Prepare for certain death.
in a ranked match, so you can do you, and I'll join you after this.
First blood.
You're running with energy too, bro? Why are you picking a level 1 body shield? You can see we all have better than that. I'm gonna take that. That, let them do that. If I find a prowler, I'd be set pretty sweet.
Triple take here.
Purple, blue. Damn it. Blue ended. Going for the... Oh shit, my bad. I was muted the whole time. Shit.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I said I'm in a ranked match, so you go ahead and do you, and I will join you after.
Okay. Was your game over?
No, not yet. I'm currently in it.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 1.
Knockdown shield here. Level 2.
Ooh, a prowler. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, broski. Broski with the moski. I don't have a lot of heavy ammo, but...
Broski with the moski.
Yeah. I'm looking for cool little catchphrases to, like, put on t-shirts. You know what I mean? Like, going ham and potatoes. Broski with the moski.
Going ham and potatoes, broski with the moski.
Like, I'm going ham and then some. I got a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm obsessed with you. So you're just picking heavy ammo for fun or what? Yeah.
Hey, teammate.
Contact.
How many squads are left?
15. Where are they? I can hear them. Oh, thank you, yeah, get me up. There you go, got you, bro.
Sprains to stitches, sore throats to stomach aches, and pulled muscles to poison ivy. Care is around the corner at Patient First. Walk in to
Take
see
all
a doctor
those.
from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
That.
every day of the year. X-rays, lab
Well, I'll
tests,
take
and
that
prescription
shit.
drugs are on site, and most major insurance plans are accepted. For routine illnesses and injuries, Patient First is here for you. Patient First, the name fits.
Alright. Very nice. That just gave us. Squad's got 2 gold shields now.
Get your parlay on. Unibet Sportsbook is now live.
I got 1 kill, 1 assist.
Sign up today. Quality intel, quality odds. Unibet Sportsbook. Crazy about the odds. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Havoc here. Got an extended energy mag here. Level 1.
Look at my past and still a part of it's haunted me probably because I'll never be the man that I wanna be. Honestly, it's hard for me constantly. When I'm working on this album, I can
I think I hear footsteps above us. Are you sure? Alright, let's push them. Another blue bag. Okay.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 2. I've got a help up here. Select fire. Flatline here.
Alright. A couple of things.
Got an extended energy mag here. Level 2. Got an extended energy mag here. Level 3. Standard stock here. Level 1.
Alright, let's go get them. Okay, you do that. You go over there. You should take the ultimate accelerant. Why would you? Oh, whoa, whoa. Holy sh- somebody just lit me up from up above. 5-second Phoenix kit.
Need to recharge my shields.
You getting some
Yeah, I'm plus 30 so far. We're top 6. I need a top 5 finish for a challenge. That's why I picked rank. We're top 6. I got a kill and an assist.
Yeah. Almost there. Yeah, there's only 5 squads. Well, 4 others besides us.
Train's coming at us, boys. Let's get ready for this. So we on this Christmas train. No.
Let's explore this way.
No! Oh man, they melted me. Come on, get up, get up, get up. No! No! Fucking sniped me as soon as I got up.
Thanks for that. Pitching myself up.
God, dude.
Take the
Make top
yeah, we're
5?
top 4 right now. Take the portal. Good shit. Good shit, team. Good shit, teamos. Okay. We're zipping away. Okay. Who want what?
Optics here. Close range.
Oh, that was a waste. Nobody needed the health drone.
Shield cell here.
Alright, he has shield cells. Okay, cool.
Shield cell here. Shield cell here. Thanks.
You're welcome. No problem, teammates. I got all the shield cells for all the... Nice. Did you just kill somebody? Good shit. Oh, and we got the circle. Oh, that's perfect. We're like in one of those like U-shaped buildings.
Oh shit! I'm in it.
Probably. We're at like between the lava fissure and Mirage's thing, like one of those like Habitat Mars U-shaped buildings, and we're indoors healing, and we just got the last circle. Just couldn't be any more better. I guess if I had a gun for range, maybe, but.
Shield up here.
Still 4 squads left. Somebody's coming, I think. So when they go to open the door, crack that way. I know. I don't got energy ammo for you, bro. I'm sorry. Alright, top 3. Somebody shooting from behind us? No. Okay. Oh, this is intense. Oh, the whole squad's in that other room. Well, it's like a crazy fight in like this tiny ass room.
Patching myself up a bit.
They gotta still be in that room. I got 1 shield battery left. Sorry, bro. Oh no, it's empty. Shit. Wasn't this? It's the 7th ring. I don't think I've ever made it this far.
Damn, how
It's
small is
like-
that?
When I look at the map, I can't see anything but red. Basically.
Oh shit.
Like the mini map I can see, but if I bring up the map, it's like our icons take up more than the free space. Why would you leave the house? Oh my god, we might lose because of this. Yeah, get in the house.
Oh, that is very funny. I'm watching right now.
Oh shit. Yeah. Why would you leave the house, bro? I don't even know where the next circle's going. There might not be a next circle.
Yeah, might not.
Oh, I'm knocked. There isn't a circle. What? They won. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. The last circle was across.
I guess that Bangalore had a gold shield or something because she went down. And then oh shit! Wait, why is that not popping up in my other chat? Oh yo, big abode. Thank you for the sparks. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the mixer love. I don't know if you're still here or not, but thank you. Yeah, that was a very intense end right there, so I was a little distracted. My apologies. $116 RPs. About to get out of gold 4 like a boss. One guy just invited me to a game. Sorry, bro. Much as I would like to, I can't. I got a team, man. It's me and my buddy. We have gold. Thank you for the host. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry. I can't. I got a team. I'm sorry, Forsaken Poet and Senap. I don't know what your name is, but I got a team. I'm sorry. Oh, is that you? Is that you sending me the invites on Xbox?
These days, it's hard to get anyone to look up from their phone. As a nation, we are upset.
Is it? Yeah, my bad. I'm like talking to this guy on Xbox who couldn't hear me, and you're in the chat. Yeah, you can join. Which one was you?
Live human beings who explain your options and guide you to the perfect ring. There's no app for that, my friends. So use your phone to map directions to Benari Jewelers in Exton and Newtown Square.
What's your gamer tag? Big abode. Okay, that wasn't you. Yeah, shoot me a message on Xbox. ZLG Mechanic, just like it's spelled in Mixer. Okay. KSA there. Yep, just sent you an invite. Yo, what's going on, man? Yo, what's happening? Sent you an invite to the game?
Was unlucky. Last guy, he was half cold. Knockdown sheet.
He was.
That's why
Okay.
he won.
That's what I thought. Once it was all done and I could see, like, I only saw him. I figured he had a gold knockdown, and we all died before the his thing timed out.
Yeah, but to be honest, it's costing falls. Like, guys should leave him die and
Yeah.
hold the circle.
Yeah, he shouldn't have left the house.
Like, see where is the last circle? It's just like Storm's gonna hurt so
Yeah,
bad.
I've never made it to a round 7. You know what I mean? Game's always been over by then. So yeah, I've never. I mean, I know how much damage the like a third ring does.
Yeah, but to be honest, he did the great with the gas trap. His hold is
Yeah,
golden.
until the end, he decided to go outside for I don't know.
He did hold the building perfect.
Yeah, it was a pretty good
So it's your
pretty good ending there.
Yeah, it's your main.
No, I play whoever. Yeah, I don't. Doesn't really matter. I've just recently been starting to play Gibraltar.
Yeah, Gibby's
Yeah.
OB, man. I don't like
Yeah,
him.
I didn't like him in the beginning for just because he's so big. Like I'll just get shot from everywhere all the time. But then when I come up against him, like that arm shield is just it's so good. So I've been practicing him.
It's OB. I don't like fighting.
Yeah.
Always I die.
Yeah, and because of that, I figured I have to get good with him and get that advantage.
Games take forever to start the game.
Yeah.
Or maybe because
Probably.
I'm diamond.
And who's your main?
My main is Raid, Lifeline, Bangalore, and
Okay.
Pathfinder.
Okay.
All of them.
I'll let you be. Yeah,
Right.
whoever you want to be.
It's okay. Lifeline. I started playing by Wraith before I can character, so probably I have high kill by Wraith more than the other.
Okay. Okay, Grim. I gave Jumpmaster to you. Good old train station.
I'm down anywhere.
Yeah, we get some pretty good fights at the train station.
Yeah.
Since if we stay close from each other, it's good.
Yeah, well, you're diamonds. I'm expecting you to carry us to victory here.
Not really.
We're just.
I like teamwork more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thing. Yeah.
Always
I'd
teamwork
rather
is
play
better.
with some decent people than like a really good asshole, basically. Yeah, man. I don't care how good you are. If we can't work well as a team, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if like you have good teammates. Like, since if you play in teamwork, like you're gonna fuck up anyone. Like you're gonna kill them
Yeah.
easy. And I have this cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Mirage Town is so.
Yeah, I've only done it a couple times, and it is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's like you hear many stuff is going on over there. It's like, what the heck? Someone behind
Yeah.
next to me. Since the event is started, I dropped over there like to take a look how's this place, and I got like 12 kills just first
Oh,
drop.
nice.
Like,
Yeah, took me forever to figure
yeah.
out what the challenge was to do there. Like I couldn't. Yeah, yeah. It took me forever to figure out. You had to like hit the button. Oh, you got a vault key?
to activate the party. Yeah. Oh, he's at phone. Nice.
You got your mic muted, Grim?
He does talk when he's in emergency cases. That's what he did the last game. He wasn't talk until Costicus go outside. He started talking.
Yeah, he wasn't in my last game. We were in a party, but he was. He took a break, and I started that game. Yeah. Yeah, good.
Can I have this?
Yeah, because you'll get people up faster, so it'll give them bonus health.
Thank you.
You want that, Grim?
17 squad left.
No. Okay. I guess he's just not going to talk this game.
You guys, if you see in select fire, let's
Okay.
fight.
We're inside the ring. Got the positional advantage.
Ooh,
All right, let's go get him.
what's this things in my hand? It's so annoying.
What's that? Oh,
Chocolate? I think I was eating cookies. God. How many people? Here. This guy, I give him 90.
Okay. Okay, I'm coming through the building.
Mind those headshots.
Oh my god, he's weak as
Oh.
fucked. He disappeared like a motherfucker. Go for it. Yeah. He's over there. He's next to you. Cover him. Drop a smoke, Bungalow. Yeah.
I hear him. I don't see him now.
Maybe down the.
Oh.
Let's help him. Let's help our teammate.
Somebody on the roof.
Where? Oh my god. He's over there. Smoke. You wanna me do the glitch?
No, I don't.
I wanna.
I don't know the glitch.
I'll do the glitch. So you will not lose any points. It's okay, even if you lost. Go ahead. I did the glitch, so you will not lose any point.
Damn. Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
died?
died.
Did you die? Yeah, you lose forgiveness. No point.
But doesn't that
Zero.
give you? Don't you get a what's it called? Like a penalty for it?
Yeah, but no, I'm okay. If you send me invite, you can join. It's a glitch. You do the glitch, so you leave the match without losing any point. And if your teammate like really much care about his rank, it's like if you almost hit the, like for example, if you in a gold one, like that, you are in a almost gold,
Right.
right? So if you worried about the point, like if you still need 10 points or something like that, you have to keep doing like that. Like I do the glitch when my teammate is down. I'm still alive, so like I'm 100% gonna die. So we have one of us do the glitch. So you will not
Okay,
lose
and all
any
you're doing is just leaving the match, right?
Yeah, but I can still. I don't get
Okay.
banned, so good. It's good things like make you live
Yeah.
quick without losing any. Your teammate is not here.
Yeah, and I don't know if he just got disconnected or what happened. Hold on, wait. He just texted me. Okay, he's done for the night. He said he doesn't know why we couldn't hear him.
Oh.
He tried everything, like unplugging his mic and doing all that, but he's just gonna get off for the night.
Yeah, it's okay. Have a good night for him.
Yeah.
So we officially gonna see how this game is going, like until the top 5 or top. If you get like plus, so we shouldn't
Okay.
leave. If you still in the minus and 2 of our team down and like 100% gonna down, like yeah, we have one of us in the glitch. So not lose any.
Okay, and you don't get any kind of penalty for that? No ban or no like timeout or anything?
No ban. No ban. But you have to be careful. Don't leave the match, press P and leave the match. No. Just press start and select. Like, you know when you switch the server? You know when you trying to go to the main
Right.
screen. Like you press start and you press the window. Whatever. Try it now. Press start, press the select box. Show you return
Okay,
to the
and then you go to
main,
leave match that way.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, before you died. You have to do it before you died. If you died, you can get the
Okay.
points anyway. Go to the overlord. Where's the HUD?
Yeah, we want to get all the
Aim
kills.
was 3 squad over there. Yeah, we tried. Look. Gun. Need a gun. Okay, V2020. Win. Who's gonna fight me? The V2020.
I'm looking for enemies. I got this P2020 and a prayer.
I'm so savage. Where are you? I like Wingman, but not in the server.
Wingman here. Slow, but it's got serious stopping power.
Because my ping is almost 190.
Since
In minutes.
Oh, okay.
Staying at the forefront of medical
I see.
education, PCOM
So how much?
Like 15, I think it said when I was just looking at the.
we empower our students
God.
by adding wider perspectives to all of
Oh
our
my.
students
Yeah.
learn
Yeah, that's nice. I was trying to play this game like this ping. Even in my server, I didn't get this ping. Normally, it's like playing 100.
Oh, jeez, that's. I mean, I don't do very good with 15. Couldn't imagine playing on 100.
Take this.
Oh,
Gives
what? Gracias. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You going to bed, babe? Okay.
I hate this area.
Yeah,
I always drop full out from the map when I fight squad. I did that a couple of times.
yeah.
Our teammate staying far away from us. Oh, he's in the tunnel. I thought he's far away. So he's
Yeah,
like,
all the way. It looked like he was all the way down the hill.
does
No,
feel
I'm
one?
okay with what I got. No, that's what I want to ping.
he needs a brawler with the select fire.
I haven't seen one now. I did see a.
Yeah,
Oh
you
no,
can have it.
no, good, good.
Take.
I got a hemlock. I'm okay. Are you sure? Okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
Hey, you don't want
Go
any of
down.
this?
Can I have all okay. You take it extend. Okay. He's still marked the extend.
No, no, I have one. Thank you.
You're welcome. Should be fine now.
Oh.
Grab this. I'm good.
Barrel stabilizer here. Level 3.
Oh, they fighting by capital city. The good strategies in rank is land where you like make sure you like land next to one squad at least and start killing them. You get easy kill and after that you can camp. So you get plus from the beginning. Because if you keep looking for the kills at the end of the game, it's hard.
Yeah.
Everyone is half gold shield
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Gold and good stuff, good gun, everything. But when you just landing, all of them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No,
That's why
it makes sense. Makes
I
sense.
could be wrong.
Yeah, yeah, that's you.
Our teammate is. Oh, he's so.
Yeah, I'm actually dropping my. I'm going double heavy. I dropped my light gun. I'll bring them to you. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize the ring was right, or the storm was right there.
Touch you. Look.
Gracias.
Yeah, don't drop
Yeah,
it.
nah.
Don't drop
Wait till we get safe.
Shit, in front of us. Shit, drop your smoke to your left hand side on
Oh, shot that too far.
Yeah.
Alright, here. Ready?
They weak as fuck, they weak as fuck.
Oh, Hey, you ready?
Hello, what's up, Harvest? No, you dropped the heavy.
Oh, you want the light?
Light.
Okay.
Smoke.
Invite me when you're done, bro. I'll just mute my mic.
I'm throwing my special out.
That's what's happened when you try to get closer from the master pitch. My ult is almost on. You have grenade.
Yeah, I have one arc star.
Yeah, through woods. Over there.
Oh no. Oh shit.
Our
I also
team
have
is
grenades too. I didn't realize. Knocked one.
Oh, he's doing swap. You're later. Cover. Legion. Smoke. Yeah. Yes. I need throwables so bad.
Oh shit. Still got light ammo I just dropped.
We have to move to the
Okay.
circle.
Here's throwables in that box.
Yeah. Okay, I have to go. Hopefully, oh, you see them? They have blue sheep. How much your ult?
48.
How much your ult? Smoke. Come on.
Yep.
Take my bot. Bitch. Can you remember my name?
Go. Alright, nice.
I down 2 of them. Hey, over there, I need your help. Through smoke toward them.
Okay.
Through smoke toward them. What's up?
Oh, grenade.
Hold.
Yeah, I'm out yet. 84%.
I broke this guy's
Okay.
shield. You're here? Inside this. I just marked it.
Okay.
They fall
Good night,
back.
babe.
Come,
Yeah,
come,
I'm right,
follow me.
right
follow
here,
me.
behind you. Yep.
I need your help. Here, inside.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my god, where is teammate? Do something. Oh my god, up. Ah. You. Yeah. That's what happened when you have
Yeah.
random new squad.
Yeah, that,
Random, not appreciate.
yeah, I don't know what he
we
was
did.
doing that whole time.
Was watching us fight and like, can I shoot? You guys finish fight? Okay, I can engage.
Right, like
Whatever.
I don't understand the
Yeah.
thought process.
Yeah, he's just watching us, stood still and watching us when we down. That's like, yeah, we decide to let's go.
Yep, my game just crashed.
How was your day, Harvest?
Just finished yesterday. Haven't been asleep yet. Just started a new day. No, but it's been alright. I've been waiting for you to get space to let me in. To let me in your life and show you how much I love you. Let me in.
Oh, I was busy.
Mm-hmm. Thought I was the only man in the life. Understand?
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to, like, I watch you all the time. Like, you are in Microsoft Edge. Like, I'm gonna bother you to maybe chat with you, give, doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have a phone. So if I want to talk to people, I have to use Microsoft Edge to load up Messenger and talk to people from Messenger. Which is what you send messages on Facebook, if you don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know. Facebook.
Invite me? Invite me or fight
Invite
me.
said, I don't want no problems. I don't want no
Fight me.
problems.
So, we have problem Harvest if we play in US server because I'm playing US server.
No, I don't mind.
Where'd you go?
Okay, send us
okay.
invite. Yeah, he didn't let me
Okay.
up, like show me the party leaders.
Alright.
It's like playlist and available.
Oh, look at me. I'm the slacker of the group.
Are you
were,
playing
but
ranked?
maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah,
Can we play one normal?
Yeah.
Then we get warmed up. I've been playing Fortnite, you know what.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what I done earlier, dude, but I didn't clip it. I done a 360 in quick score someone on Fortnite and didn't clip it.
It's no good.
Yes. Yeah, it's annoying.
But
I
I
know
clipped that no
sometimes he's
scope the other
trying-
day though. That was
Yeah. What is the clip? Sometimes you you thought you record the clip and it show you the clip is recorded. When you keep looking, like when you check out again, you couldn't find
Yeah.
it for some reason.
That's why you should just always stream it. If you stream it straight to Twitch, you can just go make clips like the next day.
I've got a terrible connection, believe me. It just about handles without
Oh,
streaming. So when I download a game, right, like all my friends will upload at like 60 to 80 megabytes per second, and mine's anywhere between 5 and 10.
Oh
megabytes
man,
per
that's
second.
rough.
That's how terrible.
Yeah.
It's funny when some people are watching, they're like, "Damn, how can you play? You're lagging all over." But on my screen,
Yeah, you're just like,
Maybe it
yeah.
gives me
I've played against people like
Maybe it
you,
gives me that.
where like they're just like here, then they're 10 feet over here, then they're back here, then all of a sudden they're on a roof, and I'm like, what happened? Where did they even go? Yeah, and I usually die.
Yeah, they're lagging all the way. All the way around. Lagging is crazy as fuck.
I'm gonna give this up. You guys are the
Okay.
pros.
Not really. Harvest is.
When I get back into the game, I'll... This is my favourite spot. Nah, I lied, yeah. Epicenter is my favourite spot.
Wait, this one.
Let's make it choice.
You know
I
what's
swear
my
there's a hidden
favorite
Yeti.
spot?
There's a hidden Yeti in there. I'm telling you. What?
Hey,
Let's expose the target over there.
Ah, I hate that spot. Honestly, I'm going there.
why is it like?
Yeah, but the other day though, how amazing did I do it the other day? Oh shit, someone beat me to it. Shit. Well, this is a good first game. Rip.
No, that's not the attitude. The attitude is we're gonna dominate.
Oh, someone's shooting grenades at me. Leave me alone. Oh, there's a guy in this building. I'm fucked. Dude, save me. He's
Yep.
behind me in that building.
Yep.
Have you got a gun?
Come in.
Where?
I'm coming.
Yeah, I got guns.
Hang in there, buddy.
Come on, bitch.
Have you got light ammo? You're not using the dude.
Yeah, I just picked
have.
up. I think I only got one box, but it's all yours.
He's on the roof above us. There he is.
Oh, yep, it's more than one.
A build right in front of me.
Yeah.
I need a shirt. I'm running around here topless. Oops, somebody on me. Get out of here. Get out. Stay out. I don't have a shirt, but I'm...
Oh no, I left the door open by an accident.
Yeah, there's two of them on me.
I just got no loot whatsoever.
Triple take 21 for the body shot. What the heck? Come on, man.
Alright, that was just a
Look
warm
how
up.
much Bangalore health is 1 HP? I don't know how much. Jeez, must be by full mag by alternator and switch to the triple take in the chest. I didn't show me the perfect
Some BS.
harvest open the door. Yeah, harvest open the door.
I've done that.
Yeah, I went to reload and run away, and I opened the door, so they shot me in the back. I had nothing anyway. I was gonna die anyway. What you want when you first land is a flat line. You'll kill everybody. A flat line, the body shield.
R99.
Seems to do good. Yeah, I'm that too, but I like the flat line. As you seen me at the capital city the other day, I was destroying everyone.
So what about Mozambique with the hammer point?
Yeah, but I tend to miss loads of shots with the Mozambique, just out of sheer panic.
Time with the P2020. I'd rather have the Mozambique over the P2020.
Yeah. Today with the Mozambique with the attachment, I give someone like I swear it's from long range, like long range, not like it's maybe 80 or maybe
It's
less
time to
than
bring
80.
out the beast. The beast.
Headshot 69 for the headshot from long
Ooh.
range. Mozambique, like, wow. I'm using Wingman. I'm confused. Like, because like almost the same limit.
Yeah, it's funny, right, dude. I've been saying to my friend for weeks, right, that he's gonna go to jail, and that I'm gonna bring up his kid and get with his girlfriend, right? I'm just
What?
joking when I say it. Right, I'm not. I'm just joking when I say it.
What the fuck?
No, right, and he got a letter today, right, and there's a warrant out for his arrest. I started laughing.
You said
I was
all
like,
this. Yeah, you said
maybe
all
I
this
should stop.
emotion.
Yeah.
Oh
I do
my God.
stuff like that. I was laughing. I said to him, I was like, look at that family portrait you've got near your fireplace. I'm gonna cut your head off your body and I'm gonna stick my face on. And it's my family now. I was just
Instant
joking.
family, yeah.
He's like, I'll snap. He was like, I'll snap your neck. I was like, I don't blame you, I'd snap yours if you didn't know me.
Oh my god.
It was funny
So-
though. I was
Yeah, and then he
whining,
gets
so-
the letter about the warrant. Like that's
Yeah.
funny. I haven't got a gun again. What's happening? Like, it's spoiling my experience. I'm going over here. I just need a peacekeeper.
I have RA-45.
I hear people
Mozambique.
over the other side. I think.
Mozambique. You need Mozambique. Mozambique.
you get a gun harvest.
Yeah, probably on a longbow. Not
Well, I
one
got
of them.
a Eva you can
Just
have.
turbo
What about-
charger.
What about
I
this?
need a light gun
Guys.
really. Ooh.
You gotta grab
Yes. What, grab it for me or grab it for yourself? What do you mean?
No, grab it for you.
Ooh, legend.
I have gun.
On them, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And drop
Yeah.
it for me.
Whoops. Whoops.
You're a legend, unload attachments. Very G.
Mm-hmm. Did you say they hear someone? I didn't hear anyone. Maybe it's that you.
I've got a blue light mag, a precision choke. Does anyone need any of these? An extended
I-
blue light mag.
I need extend light.
Yeah, on me then. I'm just below
I
you.
need you. And I need extend light, man.
I've got
Shoot
precision
me,
choke as well.
cargo
Anyone
bot.
needs it.
It's all the way.
Yeah, yeah.
All the
go
way over
for it.
here.
Oh, they fighting? Close? From where?
Did you get that light mag here?
Yeah, yeah.
Over here to the
I
east,
did.
southeast, east.
Oh, they
Alright,
buying
let
up
me get this thing real quick. I didn't hear any gunshots. Let me,
Yeah, take your time. Yeah. Close.
oh, had a vault key in it.
Take it closer.
Harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Vault key for
What's up?
us.
Hey, but, oh no, I'm not pinging that. I'm taking that purple light mag because I just found the R99. I need light ammo. You
I
got
got
this guy light ammo?
40.
Like that, I can
Yeah,
give you
well,
some.
Yeah, you don't have to give me loads. Just
I can give you
20 or
some
something.
Harvest Xbox One. You should change your name to Harvest Xbox One. Or Hayes Xbox One. Where are you? Take it.
I wanted to change my
Oh.
name to, because I don't smoke like weed anymore. I wanted to change to Haze and then L Nut. Hazelnut.
That's adorable. I like it.
Harvest, you didn't need this?
Ah, I've got 100.
You wanna see my skin in R99? It's better than your skin.
Yeah, drop it for me then. I'll just pick it up.
You wish you have it. Which gun do you have? R99?
Mhm. Ooh, thank you, baby. Oh, I hope my controller
there.
doesn't start shooting randomly. That's Fortnite for you. A game
Yeah.
designed to break your controller, but I have to smash everything up with the right trigger over and over again.
Yeah. Tell me about Fortnite. Oh, people
I hear
people
someone.
Harvest. He's behind the fence. Guys, over there.
What's that, Mr. Bloodhound? You gonna scream?
Watch out, Harvest.
I broke his shield, white shield he had. Gibby weak, Gibby's weak.
Pull back, pull back, pull back.
Gibby's down.
Gibby's weak as fuck. Oh. There's another one as well after that.
Find that box. No. Oh, no.
What the hell? Okay, okay.
No.
He was carrying your box on his head.
It's wearing it like a hat.
Oh my god.
That was my bad. I thought I was just
Oh,
chasing
good.
one guy.
Oh, they downed all. It's okay. It's make me feel good.
I didn't know that blue pound was hiding on the left.
I didn't see him. I just.
Neither did I
like,
till he killed me.
His skin color is the
I'm
same.
just getting warm. I swear I used to be good at this game.
Yeah, I believe it.
Hey, let me play one game, Raven, dude. Just one game.
No, right now you have to pay first. Oh, he wanna play by Pathfinder. My bad.
No, I don't care.
Let's go
Whatever.
for this game.
No.
No, it's okay. Ask Harvest.
No, I'm gonna
ask
be.
Harvest. I'm playing by
I'm
all.
gonna be.
I play by all.
Be this guy. Be the fast guy. Yes.
Octane. I don't like Octane. It's just about one thing. When he's lost. He's
Yes. It's pretty sweet.
like when you about to fight someone and you already like lost half health and you have full shield, like it's a big disadvantage.
This is where I'm gonna turn into issue.
Alright. I'm waiting to see it.
You know what, Harvest? After this game, I'm gonna make my ratio 2.9. I'm telling you.
Mine was 3 point something, then I started playing Fortnite, then I came back to this, I'm absolutely terrible now. It's gone down to 2.9.
I'm gonna bring it to 2.9. Telling you. With the champion, we're gonna kill them. We're gonna hear the champion eliminate.
Alright. I'm waiting.
It's time!
Like you're gonna hear Harvest, first blood.
I've been the field depot for a while, not gonna lie. Let's go here.
Here we go. Ready up.
And the rank drop. Harvest.
This is where I used to drop when the season first started. I just used to drop
Oh,
here
you
every
know
time.
what? Last night, Wraith, she was shoot at me from there, top. In rank. It was kinda like a bitch over there. I don't know, there's
Oh.
one spot over there you can still alive.
Thought that was a flat line, it was a hemlock. Made me sad. It's like getting catfished.
I mean, but it's like in
Wow, you look nothing like
catfish
your
by like
picture.
a decent looking person. It's like you don't look anything like your picture, but you still look pretty good. You know? The hemlock on single fire is a pretty good gun.
Yeah, I like.
The hemlock close range spraying from the hip. Now that has got flat line. Under R3.
Got one of those
Roll
for
one.
you.
Let's just take a moment. Let's just take a moment. I know we didn't land in like a big loot spot, but there should at least be fucking blue body shield.
Who's no, I think I'm about to make big mistake if I will mark this thing for harvest.
What is this thing?
You gonna steal it?
What the hell? Did you just drop it and ping it and pick it back up?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you dropped it on the rock and then it was like just fell through the rock. I couldn't find it.
No.
Take the zip line, I don't know, we need some more loot.
Yeah, I gotta get some knockdowns with a charge rifle, so that's what I'm gonna try.
Oh, look at the champion! Oh my God, harvest you! It's your fault.
Oh, do you need this then? I'm gonna drop this for you when you come.
Ooh, that would be swell.
Yeah, my bad. I grab it. Why did I take
Oh.
Oh, harvest! You should leave it for me. People landing on us.
Oh,
Oh, what's that sound?
I broke his shield.
Ping, I don't
Harvest
know.
is 1 HP, 1 HP. I broke his shield. 36. White. Oh, he's Drop the cargo bomb.
73. Nice.
Wow, okay.
He's got. Oh, what did you?
Should I take R99? Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you. Sorry about we stealing your loot.
Oh no, it wasn't my loot.
Oh, I'm joking.
No, there's a blue that and a that.
Everyone's. It's anyone's.
Yeah.
Watch out, watch out.
60. Oh, yep. Oh.
Fall back, fall back, fall back. Fall back, fall back. Drop down.
Nice.
Bangalore one shot. Bangalore dead.
Oh, he's 1 HP, 1 HP.
No! There's still somebody up here.
From behind. Harvest, you got this. I believe in
On the
you.
top, up top.
Up off.
It's a good effort.
Shit. What the hell? Where are they coming from?
That guy's lagging like crazy.
I made a big mistake. I threw smoke to myself at the time when I see Caustic. And I whisked full mag in the sky. Take that! I got the skin harvest from the Apex pack. And I got the legendary finisher for Caustic.
I'll ready up in 30 seconds. Just gonna get a tab real quick. But I'll smoke into there.
Oh, nice. I just maxed out the
I know we
battle
didn't play that
pass.
wave.
Alright, this is gonna be my last game. It is almost 2 o'clock in the morning for me.
Okay, so good.
That's
سويت قلت نفس رموف حقت Caustic.
Yeah, I gotta finish a move for Caustic. Why he sprays the gas in the face.
No, I got the one for the like bunch guy. I think. The name?
Have you got the Wraith knife yet?
No. No. Wraith, I
Do
don't
you know the secret, dude? Do you know the secret? In your mind, right? Picture yourself getting it in your mind, and then don't think about it anymore, and then it'll happen. Hey, I don't know what life, Brian. I even showed you.
What should I be? What should I be?
yeah.
Unicorn
Whatever.
on LSD.
Alright.
Okay.
I'm gonna be
50. Mr. Ray, okay. Oh, you have this skin, nice. You have this. Show me my skin.
I'll show you my skin if you show me yours.
gross.
Follow me. I'm the jump master.
Go there, dude. What about favourite spots?
Really good at this.
Let's go then.
You're the jump master.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wait for the perfect time. Land. We have one squad back.
I fucked up.
Oh, she's.
Don't even dare start punching me. Don't even dare start punching me. There's just no reason to punch me this early in the game. Yeah, that's it, run, bitch. Wow, this guy's lagging all over.
How is my controller dying? What? My controller's plugged in.
Damn, that guy was glitching everywhere.
Man, footsteps right there. I was coming to help you, Hayes. Oh, they're right here.
Me,
Okay, I got somebody on me also. What? Bull.
I see the damage. I see the damage.
I can't play
Oh
on
my.
this server like a dude.
Oh my god. Did you
Everyone's
try and
actually
play one?
lagging.
Did you try and play in our server?
Do I want to try and play on your server? No, thank you. I do bad enough with my 15 pin. You know what I mean? I don't want to play with like 150. But no, thank you for the games, gentlemen. I gotta get off. Get my ass to bed.
Peace out.
Yeah. Yeah. Have
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah, you
Thank
too.
you. Nice to meet you.
Peace out, Cub Scouts.
Peace.
Alright. So, I am doing this and doing that and doing this. So, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out. Whether it was Facebook, Twitch, Mixer, YouTube. Appreciate it. It means the world to me. I probably stayed up too late. I got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. The car broke down, which I talked about. The car broke down. Transmission is trash. So I have to call junkyards, get one to meet me at the mechanic shop, scrap the Focus. Got to get there early enough to clean the Focus out and scrap the Focus. Get everything ready with the Dodge, so when Cribbler's ready to buy it, that could be a smooth transition. And clean up some stuff, organize this room, organize the garage, build a bookcase. I don't know. There's a long list. There's more stuff. But anyway, no, it doesn't matter. It's not your problem. It's my problem. So thank you for coming out. I really do appreciate it. I want to say thank you to Zero for the games. Thank you to Grim for the games. Thanks to Zed for always stopping in. Big shout out to the Big Abode. Or also KSA there for the follow and the host and the sparks. Also for the games and his buddy Harvest the Haze, was it? Harvest my Haze. I'm gonna write that down. May play with him again. Harvest my Haze. MKSA there. Big shout out. I like it when I meet new people who are decent people and we get to be people and friends and stuff. Same thing happened with Zero and Casper and not Casper. What's his real name? What's his? I forget. Just gave him a tag. I might have changed it to Casper. I don't remember. Anyway, and Ozzy and yada yada yada. So I really do appreciate everybody coming out. And all the engagement I get on the social medias. It's Mechanic on all socials except Twitter. It's Mechanic G. Also follow Zero Logic Gaming on Instagram and Facebook. I will be back tomorrow, 10 p.m. And it'll probably be Apex. Maybe I'll set that up and I'll stream some of the bookcase because I gotta build that. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, so thank you for coming out. Those who didn't come out, go